Mike. Today I wanted to discuss something that a lot of people are interested in: effective methods for learning English. With so many options available, it can be overwhelming to figure out where to start. What do you think is the most important first step?
Hi Anna, you're absolutely right. Learning English can seem like a huge task, but breaking it down into manageable steps makes it much easier. I believe the first step should be immersing oneself in the language as much as possible. This means surrounding yourself with English in your daily life. What's your take on immersion?
I agree. Immersive learning is powerful because it allows you to absorb the language naturally, just like a child learns their first language. Watching movies, listening to music, and even changing your phone's language settings to English can make a big difference. The more you hear and see English, the more familiar it becomes. Segment 1. Communicative Language Teaching, CLT.
That brings us to another effective method: communicative language teaching, or CLT. This approach focuses on communication. It's not just about memorizing vocabulary or grammar rules. It's about actually using the language in conversations.
Exactly, Mike. CLT encourages learners to engage in dialogues that reflect real-life situations. For instance, role-playing scenarios like ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions can be incredibly beneficial. It helps learners to think on their feet and apply what they've learned in a practical context.
And it's also great for building confidence. The more you practice speaking with others, the less daunting it becomes. Plus, it's a lot more fun to learn this way. Segment 2. Vocabulary building.
Now let's talk about vocabulary building. It's hard to communicate effectively without a good vocabulary. What methods do you think are best for expanding one's vocabulary?
Flashcards are a classic tool for vocabulary building, and they're still very effective. Whether you use physical flashcards or an app like Anki, it's a great way to learn new words. But beyond that, I think reading extensively is crucial.
I couldn't agree more. When you read books, articles, or even blogs in English, you're exposed to new words in context. This not only helps you learn their meanings, but also how they're used in sentences. It's a passive way of expanding your vocabulary that can be very effective over time.
And don't forget to write down new words as you encounter them. Keeping a vocabulary journal can help reinforce what you learn and give you a handy reference to review later. Segment 3. Grammar and structure focus.
Moving on to grammar, while it's often seen as the most challenging part of learning a language, it's also essential. How do you suggest learners tackle this?
Grammar can be tricky, but it's important to study the rules and then practice them regularly. Structured exercises from grammar books or online platforms can be really helpful. But more importantly, learners should try to write regularly. Whether it's keeping a journal, writing essays, or even posting on social media, writing in English helps reinforce grammar rules and sentence structures.
I like that approach. Writing forces you to think about grammar and structure in a way that speaking doesn't always do. Plus, it's a great way to see your progress over time. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's part of the learning process.
Segment 4. Interactive online learning. Speaking of practice, there's a wealth of resources online that can make learning English interactive and engaging. Language learning apps like Duolingo or Babbel offer structured lessons. But what's really great is the gamified approach that keeps you motivated.
Yes, and online courses can also provide more in-depth learning with quizzes and interaction with other learners. Joining an online community can be particularly beneficial because you get to practice with people from all over the world, which adds a social element to your learning.
And let's not forget the value of practicing listening and speaking online. There are language exchange websites where you can connect with native speakers who want to learn your language. It's a win-win situation.
Segment 5. Regular practice and consistency. One thing we can't stress enough is the importance of regular practice and consistency. It's better to study a little bit every day than to cram all your learning into one session a week.
Absolutely. Setting daily goals, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes of practice, can make a huge difference over time. Consistency helps reinforce what you've learned and keeps the language fresh in your mind.
And don't forget to review regularly. Reflecting on what you've learned and identifying areas that need improvement is crucial for making progress.
Segment 6. Cultural exposure. Finally, I think understanding the culture behind the language can really enhance the learning experience. Learning about English-speaking cultures can provide context for the language and make it more interesting.
That's a great point, Mike. When you understand the cultural references, idioms, and humor, it not only makes learning more engaging, but also helps you connect with native speakers on a deeper level. It turns language learning into a more holistic experience.
Segment 7. Conclusion. So, to wrap up, we've talked about several effective methods: immersion, communicative language teaching, vocabulary building, grammar focus, interactive learning, consistency, and cultural exposure. By combining these approaches, learners can create a well-rounded strategy that works best for them.
Exactly. The key is to stay motivated, be patient with yourself, and enjoy the journey of learning English. It's not just about mastering a language, it's about opening up new opportunities and connecting with the world.
Well said, Anna. I hope our conversation helps learners find the methods that work best for them.
Me too, Mike. Happy learning, everyone!